For today's vlog, I'm just going to briefly, quickly try to recount things that happened today. Or I'll include yesterday too. So before I even made my vlog video for yesterday, I went out to the cherry blossoms in the tidal basin in DC, which is near where I live. I went with my elementary school best friend, who just happened to be in town because a friend of his just happened to be in town. He was in town because he drove his friend who ran in the cherry blossom marathon. He drove him down from Pittsburgh. We were friends like between like I think he was age 10 and I was age 8, and like for a few years both of our moms homeschooled us, and so we ended up hanging out a bunch, and like as like a like let's get our homeschooled kids together so that they don't grow up to be like let's encourage pro-social behavior. So we ended up becoming really close. We sang in the choir together, and basically for the past 2 decades or so we've like hung out with each other on and off, depending on whether or not I could make it to Pittsburgh or he could make it down here. Yesterday was one of those days, and we ended up hanging out in around the National Mall and the Tidal Basin, and went to the Air and Space Museum and the Museum of Natural History. I'm not a huge fan of DC. I call it the heart of Babylon. I don't like the fact that I don't like the government, and so I don't like the fact that the government has this big space that like is like representational of like how wonderful and imperialist the government is. But occasionally I go there just because it's like a good place with a lot of shit that it's not a good place, but it's a place that has a lot of shit that's free. You can go and look at, like, there's an exhibit at the Natural History Museum that's just all about African stuff. And so like even though they don't give you the information that's actually like valuable about the stuff, you do get to go and see like African stuff. But all of their understandings of it are very rudimentary, and the only thing they communicate is basically like, this came from this place in Africa, it was made by this person, or this is the ornamental ceremonial sword of this king of this era in Africa, and now it's in a glass thing somewhere. Anyway, so we did that, and it was a lot of fun. Just hanging out with my friend, despite him being he's German, of German descent, and when you get Germans talking about Germany, they're gonna end up saying some fucked up shit, and he did, and made me a little bit nervous. But we've been friends since we were little kids, so it's like, well, I mean, if you're gonna take part in the genocide of people who are not of German or Scandinavian or Anglo-Saxon descent, well, I'd rather you kill me to my face. Rather you kill me to my face than I don't really know how to explain that sentiment. But so today I didn't get anything done because I spent so much time out hanging out with all these white folk that by the end of the day I like felt really just nauseated, and I don't know whether it's being out in the sun for extended periods of time, or just being around people for extended periods of time, but it like really wears me the fuck out. And if I don't take a nap, like when I start getting like a headache and start feeling nauseated, then by the end of the day, and specifically around midnight last night while I was finishing up editing my vlog for yesterday, I was feeling like I was gonna die. I like was convinced that I had come down with something. I was trying to think like in the past few days, when would I have contracted whatever illness that I had. And then I woke up this morning, and I was fine. Like I didn't have a fever. I wasn't like, didn't feel super nauseated or like dizzy or anything. And so I went out around noontime and started chopping some wood, because we had this big old cherry tree, not the ornamental kind, but also not the kind that you eat. It's just It was just a big cherry tree, but it got rotted through and like was growing. It had all these like, I don't know if they're silkworms, what kind of worms they are. Obviously, silkworms are from China, so they're not silkworms, but they're worms that have silk webs, and they just like ate through the entire tree, and it was like housing a huge ant thing. Anyway, so we had to cut the tree down because it had completely died, and I was really worried about it falling on top of the house. It was like literally right over the house. But now we have all this wood, and my dad was not taking any initiative to get it all cut, so I spent the day cutting all the wood, and I finally finished it. I've been doing it on and off for the past week or two, and I finally finished cutting all the wood. Anyway, I haven't accomplished any of my like real tasks that I'm supposed to be doing this week, including like doing character designs for a comic that I'm doing the art for, or any work for my own comic. That's a vlog for another day, so I'll talk about that probably tomorrow. Anyway, if you sat through this whole thing, bless your heart, bless your little iron-filled engine at the core of your precious torso. Okay, this has been Steven, and my friends call me Buttercup. I still haven't figured out how to end these yet. The end. Like, comment, subscribe.